Welcome to another edition of the Entertainment Corner. I'm Paul Ortiz, and we're at the historic Laguna Playhouse, where the current production of I'm Still Getting My Act Together is going on. And joining us now is Gretchen. Thanks for joining us. You wear many hats throughout this production, and
yes,
it's a very personal show for you too, because you know, it's something that's evolved over 40 years now.
Yeah, well, yes, in that the first segment, Act One, started 30 years ago in the late 70s. And then the sequel, which is Act Two, takes place more or less contemporary.
Right. Yeah. Now, many people will know this show from back in the 70s when you were the star throughout the show, right?
Right.
And now you have someone playing Act One, which is basically a younger version of you.
Correct.
And then you come in there in Act Two.
That is right.
Yeah.
The wonderful Erica Hanrahan Ball plays the younger version of me. Right. And some people even say that we do look a little bit alike.
I agree with that.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about this show. It's called I'm Still Getting My Act Together.
Right.
The still.
That's right, because the first show was I'm getting my act together and taking it on the road. And it was about a woman trying to redefine herself, a woman who had come out of the sensibility of the 50s and that set of expectations for what a woman was supposed to be. And she was breaking the mold. And she's a cabaret singer, and her manager liked her the way she used to be. It's kind of a metaphoric thing. And it was really, we were trying to capture that transitional period in the 70s when women were trying to redefine themselves and men were very confused about what do women want, you know. And that's what we capture in Act One. It's a very funny show.
Now, when you say we, that's you and Nancy
Ford,
who's
yes.
really
She's the composer.
Right. She's collaborated quite often with you.
Yes.
Were you all trying to really send out a feministic message to the audience?
No.
But it turned out that way.
Yes. It was a very personal story because I personally had grown up in the 50s with a certain set of expectations, you know, of what I was going to be as a wife and a mother and all of that sort of thing. And then everything changed in the 70s, and we were trying to figure out how to write a show about that and didn't know, tried for about 5 years to figure out how to do it. We were doing our own cabaret act at the time, doing songs that we called a scrapbook of our lives, and they were, all the songs were personal and were based on our own personal experiences. It had to do with divorce, having kids, you know, all things like that. And suddenly, one night, in the middle of performing at a little club downtown in Manhattan called the Cookery, right in the middle of singing a song, I suddenly thought, oh, I know how to write this show. We'll make it be about a cabaret singer who is wanting to break the mold and not sing the songs that she used to sing, that she's trying to redefine herself and write very personal songs that really express the way she is really today, instead of who she was pretending to be all those years before. So right in the middle of a song, I got this idea, and during the applause at the end of the song, I turned around to Nancy and I said, I know how to write this song, this show, and we're going to call it I'm Getting My Act Together and Taking It on the Road. And then I turned back around and we started singing back to the audience again. And then it was so easy to write after that. We wrote it just in a few months.
And that's interesting because the role that Rex Smith is playing here, and everybody knows Rex from being a pop idol to all his work on Broadway and all the stuff he's done. He plays your manager, who's really trying to lead you in a different way, musically at least, and probably personally as well.
Yes, that's the whole idea. As I say, it was kind of a metaphor for men and women, the relationships between men and women. He liked her the way she used to be. He doesn't like this new version of her. And so the show is really about that, of their sparring and their dealing with her wanting a new definition of herself, and he's saying, no, I liked you the way you were, and that's what's going to work out on the road, that's what's going to be commercial, you know. And so at the end of Act One, she has to tell him to get out of her life, and they've had this long personal relationship, and so it's very painful for her. And then you don't know what's going to happen, and then we fast forward 30 years to see what did happen to her.
And the two of you were really a reflection of society at that time, too, because that was going on in many households throughout the country.
That's right. And the crazy part is, we did not intend to write a feminist show. This was purely a personal journey, and we were writing this personal thing. But once it came out, it just caught on like that, because that was the hot topic at the time, and it got labeled a feminist musical. So we have had that label hanging on us
for a while.
Ever since. Yeah, but we didn't mean that to be.
Right. Well, let's talk about today then, because here we are 40 years later. Act 2 is 2008, I believe.
Yeah,
it's
like
about
30 years after
about that
the
period
Act
of time.
1. Yeah.
How has this evolution worked out for you?
Well, it's really fun to do this. It's fun for me to play the character that I played 30 years ago. Rex Smith is amazing because he is, he can look in his 30s in Act 1, and then we age him up in Act 2, and the transformation is just amazing. Same way with Jesse Johnson, who plays the young guitarist who's in love with the Heather character, the character that I play, who's younger than she is. And in the first act, he is kind of this, just this impetuous young guy, and then he matures to a guy in his 50s, you know, in Act 2, and it's just awesome to see the transformation. Now, Erica Hanrahan Ball, who plays the young version of my character, she's magnificent. She's so wonderful. She then plays my daughter in Act 2.
It's full circle. All amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun.
The 40 years, what 30 years.
Yes.
What changes, do you think those changes that happened in the 70s, you know, there's some circumstances that, you know, from those changes that, you know, affect us even today.
That is right. Well, what I wanted to show in the sequel too was, in a way, the cost of the stuff that women did in the 70s in attempting to redefine themselves. Often did disrupt families. It disrupted the old ways, you know. And so there often were costs. And in my show, the cost had to do with the daughter felt, because her mother, the me character 30 years ago, got divorced and disrupted the family. She always felt, and then her mother was a single mom. She felt like her mother was never there because her mother was always working, and she didn't have a daddy and all of that. And it really disrupted the daughter's life. And so that was the cost of that sort of thing.
And people are adapting, I think, nowadays, because they're, you know, to live in New York and in Los Angeles and Southern California, you usually need a 2-income or something had to happen. So, you know, this has happened, this evolution has happened where, you know, mom is working all the time.
That's right.
And how do we adapt as a family and society?
Well, now that is more the set of expectations now. So people, families settle into that now, and it's all right now. But back then, it was breaking the mold, and it was very hard on the next generation. And that's one of the things that we show in the show.
Well, before I let you go, let's talk about the music, because the music is so important to this production as well. And I love music from the 70s, and then you start to evolve that music into, you know, probably the late 1990s and 2000. What do you really enjoy about the music in this production?
Well, number one, our band is fantastic. We have 4 guys who had not played together before, but they have turned into a hot band. So, God, the music just sounds wonderful now, and that's really, really fun. And so you get that whole 70s flavor and the 70s look, you know, in the costuming and everything in the Act 1, and then Act 2 is contemporary, and the sound evolves too. Probably will, as the show moves forward, we'll even try to make the sound of the band in Act 2 a little bit more contemporary. You know, we only had 2.5 weeks rehearsal, so we had to just do a certain amount, and we achieved an amazing amount in this production. I love this production of the show. It all really came together, partly because our cast is just all so terrific. 2 more people. Jennifer Lee Warren is fantastic, and Erica Schindel, backup singers. They are just wonderful. But the whole band is so tight.
And the music too of the 70s were revolutionary. Things are changing. We're making a difference. And then as we get older, you know, we mellow out a little bit, and it's more of a ballad and kind of a reflection on what our life has really been and the road that we took to get there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It probably Act 2 is more mellow, but it's just as funny.
It's important. And funny, okay.
It's funny.
Okay.
Everybody should know it's really funny.
Good.
And tuneful.
Okay. This sounds like you're having a great time here.
I am having a great time. I love this cast. I love this theater.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God. And we got such a wonderful production here.
It's amazing what they've done with this, you know, facility when, you know, it is a small, quaint little theater. There's not a bad seat in the house.
I know.
And the staging is unbelievable no matter what show performs here.
I know.
So it's quite a jewel here in South Orange County.
Jim Prodger did the set, and it's just a fantastic set. I want to take it with us.
Here you go.
On the road.
Right. Well, we like to take you with us, but we're going to have to let you go now. You're going to be here until November 1st.
Yes.
Okay.
So people should come if they want a good time.
I'm Still Getting My Act Together runs through Sunday, November 1st, right here at Laguna Playhouse. It's located at 606 Laguna Canyon Road, right here in Laguna Beach. Performances will be Wednesday, Thursday, and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. They do have a matinee on Saturday at 2 o'clock and their evening performance at 7:30 p.m. Sundays, they have a performance at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And for group discounts, many of the clubs and organizations come on out and see the show. Give them a call at 497-2787, extension 229. That's I'm Still Getting My Act Together right here in Laguna Playhouse, and that's going to run through November 1st. I'm Paul Ortiz, and we'll see you again next time on the Entertainment Corner.